So tell me a little bit about what made you want to become a part of this film.
Well, any number of reasons. I felt it was very important that to confront the diabetes crisis in America. You have 30 million people, 30 million adults who suffer from diabetes, 84 who suffer from pre-diabetes. Huge number of my family members have type 2 diabetes. My great aunt died from complications from diabetes, as did my grandmother. The level to which it affects the African American and the Hispanic communities, the sort of silence that is met with the disease diagnosis, and the fact that there is not a wealth of knowledge and resources out there to help people to manage the disease and live with the disease, just to sort of wait out a sort of sentence that you feel. And so it was, you know, I'm now on this thing with my life where I want to live a life of significance, and this sort of fit into it.
I read that you were also diagnosed as pre-diabetic.
Yes, I was.
How have you changed your own habits since being diagnosed as pre-diabetic?
Well, let me tell you something, and might I add, and that's why there's the website at atouchofsugarfilm.com, because there's a wealth of information on that website, and how important it is to have a doctor, because my diagnosis of pre-diabetes is not everyone's narrative. And I just happened to take a hormone test, and the blood test came back. My doctor took an A1C test. I had never heard of A1C before, which is a comprehensive test that it tests your average glucose rates over the past 2-3 months. So you basically take 4 A1C tests a year. I didn't know any of that stuff. And she said, "You're pre-diabetic range." I said, that's got to be a mistake. My glucose levels are always great. I eat right, I exercise. She said, well, and she sent the numbers, and it was elevated. Not super high, but it was right there. And so one of the things, I just armed myself with information about foods, even some of the healthy foods that I ate that I thought was okay. Even certain vitamins that I could take, berberine, you know, all kinds of things that I took. And then changing even my workout schedule, my sleep schedule, everything. And then really talking to my doctor more and talking to my sisters more who have type 2 diabetes, just going out there and being a warrior about my health.
How important is it for communities of color specifically to really do their due diligence on the sugar, as we often call it, you know?
Well, that's one of the things that we can do. I mean, you know, when we were growing up, we always called, yes, Aunt so-and-so got the sugar. She got the sugar, and then nobody did anything. Right. We continued to eat our cornbread and the dumplings, which, you know, we know, rice and all of that. That we have to change our relationships, our relationship with food. We have to change our relationship of how we see our health and going to the doctor on a regular basis. And we need to create a support group within our community to help each other, and not just sort of feel like, you know, once we get the diagnosis of the disease, that we just sort of have to wait to see that our fate is going to be just like Auntie so-and-so who went in the back room and got her leg amputated. You can manage the disease.
So several individuals in the film talk about their personal journeys with type 2 diabetes. Did any of them in particular stand out to you or connect with you?
Oh my goodness, so many of them. So many of them stood out to me. But the one story that really was beautiful to me was Shaniqua, I think that's her name, who said that she only was really proactive about her diabetes once her child was diagnosed. And I think that's a narrative for a lot of women, that we sort of negate ourselves, and, you know, especially once we have a child, that everything gets poured into it to the child and we forget about self-care. We see it as selfish to care for self. And you saw how not only did she want her child to live and have a good life, but she wanted to be there for her child. That hit home for me because I have an 8.5-year-old, and that's one thing that's going through my head all the time. I want to be there for her because every time I look at her, I say, Genesis, when you get to be, 18, and the next thought I have is, oh, I want to be there. I want to see you at 18.